Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Peter Winnick. I'm the founder and CEO at Thought Leadership Leverage, and you're joining us on our podcast, which is Leveraging Thought Leadership. Today, my guest is Mark Hunter. He goes by the name The Sales Hunter. He is a CSP, that's a certified speaking title, basically. The Sales Hunter is recognized as one of the top 50 most influential sales and marketing leaders in the world. He is author of 3 best-selling books, High Profit Prospecting, High Profit Selling, and his newest, A Mind for Sales. On its first day of release, that book hit #1 on the Amazon list. Mark has spoken in 5 continents, and he travels more than 200 days per year, working with people to show them how to find and retain better prospects. He always says the best sale he ever made was proposing to his wife. 39 years later, Mark and his wife have 2 married children and 4 grandchildren. And you can always check out more about Mark at thesaleshunter.com. So welcome aboard, Mark. Instead of talking about you, I might as well talk to you.
Well, I guess we should. I mean, who cares about talking? Yeah, let's just talk. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, so here we go. You have been at this craft for quite some time. I won't say how long, but a while, let's say.
A long time. We'll leave it at that, yes.
Exactly. And it's changed, and then it stayed the same, and then it changed, and then it's changing again. What's been consistent is, sort of your content and most of the message, although it's refined. Maybe let's start by telling us a little bit about how did you get here? Because this is not like, I'm sure when your kids were at the age when they were choosing careers, none said, I'd like to be a sales hunter.
Well, yeah, I mean, that really is. We all go down a journey in life that takes so many different twists and turns. And the key thing is being able to read the tea leaves as you go. Have I missed some tea leaves? Oh man, I've missed some big ones. I'm sure everybody can sit there and say that. But you hope that you turn over enough positive ones that move you in the right direction. But here's what it comes down to. It's what's the outcome that you want to create in others? And that's what has probably shaped me the most, especially over the last 10 years. Focus on the outcomes you create for people, not on the process, not on the delivery.
So I love that. I often, when I'm working with clients, say, okay, so as a result of X, some intervention by you, your content exposure to your books, whatever, what's the so what? What's the outcome? What's going to be different? And that different might be tactical. It might be mindset. It might be something else. But give me an example of an outcome that you shoot for with your audiences.
Well, the outcome that I shoot for is really my definition of sales, and that is to help others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. So the outcome, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to empower you as a salesperson to be confident and competent enough to where you can take somebody who doesn't know they need something, but you know it would work right for them, and be able to get them to buy that, use it. And now it's not to buy it, it's to use it and to benefit from it. And
right, you don't get to use and benefit until you buy it, right? So that's
right, yeah. And the benefit is not buying it. The benefit is the outcome you get because you bought it, whatever it might be. Yeah.
Got it. So sales and sales training, as a result, have changed a lot over the years, right? So it used to be, depending on how far back we go, we're not going to go back to the door-to-door salesman. I think that's before most of our time. But, the cold calling days, the call center days, the outbound, ring the bell days. Then we moved to sort of a higher level of consultative selling. Then we moved to sort of, it used to be the first 30, 40% of interactions that most salespeople, B2B or B2C, had with a client was the educational phase. The internet's taken much, not all of that away. So lots of change, lots of things to do to stay on top of your game. How have you evolved both your content and the modalities by which you offer it to the market to keep up with the changes?
Well, that's a great, we could run for an hour, right? Yeah. If you stop and think about this, the role has changed dramatically because the internet takes so much of it. Like you said, the educational process. But what we have to do now is clarify. Our job is not to educate you. Our job is to ask you questions to help you see what you didn't think was there, or to help unconfuse you. That's really the role. If you think about Steve Jobs, when Steve Jobs came out with the iPhone, did we know that we needed a music player? Did we know that we needed a camera, and a computer, and a phone all on the same device? No, we didn't know that. We did not know that at all. But what did Steve Jobs have to do? He had to unclarify, all of our preconceived notions to get us to buy into the iPhone. And of course, today, nobody does not have a smartphone.
Exactly. Exactly. Talk a little bit about the modality. So you spend or have spent much of your time, a vast majority of your time on the road in front of audiences delivering your message, right? Then we have this little bit of a COVID thing happening, which sort of puts a kink in the armor. Now, people still need to sell, people need to understand it, people still need to buy. So for the moment, in many places, we can't be in the same room doing that, or even when we are, it's different. How are you evolving and trying to meet the needs that are out there?
Yeah, first of all, I have to realize that the outcomes I create don't change. The outcomes do. This is what I tell everybody. Just because of COVID, the outcomes don't change. The means with which you deliver them, the means with which you interact has changed. That's what's changed tremendously. It's kind of funny. I look at my schedule now. I don't know how I had time to travel before. I don't know. I mean, this is what's absolutely crazy. I mean, I started this morning at 5 a.m. with a coaching call to Switzerland. Mm-hmm. And now it is 4 p.m. Central Time. And after this, I've still got another 2-hour event later on this evening. Right. In between, I got to somehow get caught up on email and everything else. What we're finding
and you weren't in an Uber to the airport, to the delay, to the club, to the
right. Because what's very interesting is when I used to travel, and in fact, later on this week, I'll actually get on an airplane for the first time in about 3 months. You would be focused in on one client, pretty much 80% for that day. You'd be zeroed in. Hey, you'd still be catching up on it, but you were dial in. Now I feel like a pinball. I'm 1 hour here, 1 hour there, 1 hour there. I mean, I have done so many different things with different clients and different projects over the course of the day.
But back up a little bit, because, all of a sudden, what you were selling before is Mark comes to a place, Mark speaks and delivers workshops, and then Mark goes home or to the next place. So one is you had to be able to have a conversation with the clients and say, listen, all of the value I was able to deliver, here's some new ways that I do that would be valuable to you and impactful to you. So tell me about some of those conversations.
Yeah, okay.
You had to resell it, but you had to sort of recalibrate expectations, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, where I'm going to do it.
Yes. For instance, there's a client, I was on this exact setup, Zoom setup, from 8:30 to 9:30 this morning for an hour with a sales team out of Atlanta, Georgia. And I've done 5 of these, and I'm going to do 3 more of them. And what am I doing? I am delivering my 2-day training program now over the course of 1-hour sessions. So, I mean, we could have said, oh, do it all at one time. Yeah, but the butt can only endure so, you get Zoom fatigue. Now, Wednesday of this week, I'm doing a 2-hour Zoom event for an audience of about 65 salespeople.
Okay.
And then I'll back that up with a series of shorter sessions in the weeks following that. So it is. So the outcomes are still the same. Again, we just shift how we deliver, the means with which we deliver.
So let me ask you this. So a lot of folks are struggling, and maybe struggling is not the word, or they're being challenged by, listen, I do what I do really well. Get me in front of a room. As long as the room meets my specs of here's how I like it set up, round tables and this and that, and blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't matter if you're in Denver, Cleveland, or Dubai, right? You walk into the room, bang, you're in the zone, right? You actually, and this is where I want to drill down on, because you sort of fast forward to it, and I think it's really important to say, wait a minute, what I used to do in 2 days, what are the logical places for me to chunk this? Because nobody wants to be on a 2-day Zoom call. That's not going to happen, right? And I think we're stretching the boundaries of what is logical there. But so whether it's an hour, 2 hours, you actually have to go through your content. And it's not just hit the pause button like Netflix, but be thoughtful around this module goes great with this one. And actually in between this hour and the time we meet again next week, let me throw some stuff at them. So tell me about sort of the design.
Well, that's exactly right, because I got to figure out how is some content I can spoon out to people in between. Is there a short 90-second video or 2-minute video I can throw out to them? Do I need to have a phone call with this manager? Do you need to have a phone call with that particular person? For instance, there's another group that I meet with every Thursday at 10 o'clock. Every Thursday, it's a sales team all over the country. Normally, we would do it all together, but nope, we're dispersed. And again, but like one of the guys emailed me today, he says, Mark, I'd love to get 30 minutes with you one-on-one. Okay, sure, fine. Be happy to do that. Because you think about it, I normally would have done that over break or over lunch if we had been on site. So again, but what happens is now I'm spending more time managing my calendar and also managing my headset, because what happens is my mind shifts. Now, for instance, I'm speaking to you right now. I'm standing up. I have 3 different studio setups that I can use. This one happens to be standing up because I have more energy. Today, most of the programs I've been doing from here. But I've also got another setup where I'm able to sit at a desk. And I've got another setup that's in a true office. So again, depending on what I'm delivering, the context, and what else is on the docket for the day, I set myself up accordingly.
So it's interesting. I was going to ask you earlier, and I didn't, about, that's an interesting setup that you're standing. But
right.
It actually puts me in the mindset more of, oh, Mark's sort of in the front of the room. I can see his arms gesticulate. Mark, like most speakers, you don't want to stand still. You want to move a little, the energy.
Right.
When you're sitting at a desk, you're physically constrained. So what you've done is aligned the content to, I'm going to deliver this hour standing, because that's me sort of, I need to be a little more motivational. This is a little bit more eye level. I need to be sitting at my desk and we're talking about things. So that's interesting. You just sort of designed the different elements and support the infrastructure, the set that you have. Maybe that could also be virtual if you want to.
Yeah, but this is so beautiful because like tomorrow morning, I have an executive call with 4 executives from a company. I'm going to be at my desk. And it's going to be a very formal, just like we're around the boardroom. I wouldn't speak to them standing up like this. That'd be very pretentious and very like, what is going on?
Interesting.
So again, and again, these are these little shifts that you have to be prepared to do. But what does it do? I think what this does is it allows the client to feel like you're working for them.
Sure.
And I think it changes the quality of the message.
If you're enjoying this episode of Leveraging Thought Leadership, please make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help spread the word about our podcast, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We're available on Apple Podcast and on all major listening apps, as well as at thoughtleadershipleverage.com/podcasts. I want to stay with that for a moment. So when this first hit, everybody got, now I'd been on Zoom for the last year and a half. I just really, really loved it as a tool and would rather have a conversation with someone where I can see them than just on audio. And even now, when I'm doing a call and it's audio only, I feel like I'm missing something. I can't see the reaction. I can't, whatever. When it first happened, I think there was a lot of leeway that people got. Okay, great. Well, Mark, you're in your office and maybe the lighting's not so good and you kind of look a little green and da-da-da. But we've had enough time to say, figure that out because it's not that expensive. The tools are pretty cheap. So I think the bar is going to continue to get raised a little bit. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, the bar does continue. For instance, a couple hours ago, I was doing a webinar for 650 people. Mm-hmm. Now, I could have done it on Zoom, but no, we use live stream. I had my producer, my video guy who works as my producer, tech person. He was managing it behind the scenes. He was actually in his office about 15 miles away. But we did that by way of live stream because we just knew the quality of what we wanted to convey was going to be better. So again, you have to be continually adapting and don't be shy because even post-COVID, this type of technology we're dealing with is not going away. Now, let me back up for just a second because just before this call, I had a 45-minute call with a VP of sales who is being terminated. And it's a client I work with. And we did that on the phone because that phone call, that was best delivered over the phone. In other words, now I wasn't delivering the news. He found out the other day. But it was just a little bit of a coaching. How you doing emotionally? How you doing it? And again, we could have done it by way of Zoom. But I said, no, let's do it just on the telephone.
Right. So you're choosing the right modality and the right set. Yeah.
Exactly. This is so key. Don't try to fit a square peg into a round hole.
So I want to ask you then, on the one hand, lots of energy being saved and fuel being saved, not being on airplanes, right? Because if you think about the logic, most speakers, it's like, oh, I make a ton of money for an hour, but then there's 42 hours getting there and back that I don't get paid for. So when you actually do the math, not necessarily as attractive, right? How are you able to protect and defend your fees? Because one of the things I've seen that's actually really scary, and I think quite frankly stupid, is a speaker, call them a $15,000, $20,000, very good price point speaker, now coming to, I'll do that webinar for 10 grand. And I think once you do that, you're now a $2,000 speaker. So I want to hear your take on this.
This is where I go ballistic when people say, well, I don't get paid to speak, I get paid for travel. See, so I mean, again, there were people used. There were people. A lot of people used to say that. I go, that is so stupid. No, 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 no. I'm being paid to deliver outcomes.
Yeah.
I'm being paid to deliver outcomes.
Yep.
That's what I'm paid on. And your fee is totally irrelevant as to how you're delivering it, as to how you're delivering it. It really is. It's the outcome you create. And if I can create exponential outcome, then I should be paid an exponential fee.
Right. But so you've been able to protect your fee structure then.
Right. I mean, this is where I can't stand. I'm a consultant. I'm a speaker. No, you're not. That just happens to be the medium you use.
Sure.
To make the difference.
Well, but I'll push on that. There are plenty of speakers that, I don't want to say they don't deliver value, but it's more in the entertainment motivational space. Your world, if I'm paying you to develop salespeople and my salespeople aren't selling more or selling at a higher margin, I mean, I know pretty quickly if what Mark's saying is working, right? And I'm going to hold you to that account. And by the way, if it is, I'll pay you $1 for 10 all day and night, right? So I think the market is going to shift more to, and sales has always been easier than other areas, measurable, impact directed, right to the bottom line. And these are investments, not fees.
See, you hit on something. If you were just a speaker, because I'm a great opening speaker, I'm a great closing speaker, you are toast. Mm-hmm. You are toast. But you got to stop and ask yourself, why were you the great openings? Because people will show up at the conference. Okay. So no, with the outcome you deliver is you're helping that association keep members.
And sell tickets, put butts in
You're helping them sell tickets. So again, how do I create this in a medium that I can do this online? And again, so now it's harder for them. There's no, I mean, I admit, I've got a real good situation because here's the whole thing. If you stop and think about it, this is where you also have to think about, where's your market gone upstream and downstream? Mm-hmm. For instance, in my market, I deal with sales. A lot of companies really spent a tremendous amount of money on trade shows and events and so forth to get leads. Yep. Those are gone. Right. So guess what? They have to now rely on their sales force more. Bingo. That creates more opportunities for me. But see, unless you're willing to look downstream or upstream, you're not going to see that. I always tell anybody in this business, anybody in the intellect business, I got to at least look 2 steps upstream and 2 steps downstream. And that's just to get in the door, let alone further.
Well, and I think, I love what you're doing in terms of the flexibility, the creativity, the innovation. And I would also imagine that in some instances, particularly in the last 90 days, you've actually had to tell a client, I've never done it this way before, but let me tell you what I'm thinking. And you got to be, because if you were to deliver a keynote, 6 months ago and bomb, no excuse. You've been doing this for a long time. You've done it thousands of times. Inexcusable. So it is okay, I think, to be a little bit honest and say, listen, I'm thinking of, here's how I'm going to design the program. Here's how I'm going to do it. But I haven't done it exactly this way before. So how have you been approaching that with the client?
Well, see, this is where I think COVID has really created a level of authenticity and transparent. Mm-hmm. We have to be transparent. We have to be authentic. And what does this mean? We have to be more relational than ever. This is kind of ripped the Band-Aid off people who would come in and just boom, boom, gone, boom, boom, gone. Mm-hmm. It doesn't fly anymore. I've got to be able to be seen as authentic and transparent and be able to do that in a manner that has integrity, because everything else is getting blown up. This is where I say, really, we're all getting an MBA right now in sales. We're all getting an MBA. Because believe me, the old rules of sales are gone. I mean, I had a company call me the other day and said, look, we're not getting enough new business because we're not getting leads.
Sure.
Well, yeah, hello. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, I can help you.
Exactly. So this has been great. I appreciate your time. I love the creativity and the innovation that you're applying, because one thing that we didn't hear today, and I wasn't expecting it, is that you had to invent a whole bunch of new content. You just had to relook at and you've got a huge body of work, a huge depth of work, and you didn't have to say, oh, geez, I got to write 3 new books. It was reusing what you had in ways to make it approachable and relevant, and never losing sight of why are they hiring you? They're hiring you for impact, whether you're in the room or in the Zoom or in the whatever. So I just love the flexibility that you've shown, because I think a lot of people have been frozen and afraid, and you got to try different things. So thank you so much for coming on board today, Mark.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
To learn more about Thought Leadership Leverage, please visit our website at thoughtleadershipleverage.com. To reach me directly, feel free to email me at peter@thoughtleadershipleverage.com. And please subscribe to Leveraging Thought Leadership on iTunes or your favorite podcast app to get your weekly episode automatically.